capitalism or not.
Well, let's bring in Elena Panaritis, who's a development economist, advisor to the government in Greece, until recently an MP for the PASOK party, the left of centre party, now the third largest in Greece, of course. Elena, good morning. Welcome to the programme.
Good morning.
What's the atmosphere at the moment among the Greek people, particularly as a result of what's been said in the United States over the last couple of days?
Frankly speaking, very little attention has been put to what has been discussed in the last few days, the last couple of days in the U.S. The conversation that right now is going on every television and radio is pretty much what's the benefit of being in the euro or out of the euro. And I think it's, for me right now, it's rather interesting because all what has been discussed is a bit of the same in the G8 meetings, which means that we're going to have to wait for a few more months to find out whether or not growth is going to be in the agenda or not. And in the meantime, the country Greece is suffering tremendous amount of economic and social dysfunctionalities.
Before I bring my guests in, I'm just interested to go back to what you were saying about the arguments over being in or out of the euro. It has been suggested, of course, now that Greece perhaps could hold a referendum on that very question. Would you be in favour of that?
There hasn't been such a question. There has been a presumable conversation from Mrs. Merkel to our president, which has actually been denied as a suggestion, but was only a conversation. But the basic point is, I'm afraid it's falling out of the hands of our politicians, and it has gone to the hands of the actual citizens who are basically not necessarily realizing all the benefits and the costs of being in or out of the euro, but they are so pained by the 7 waves of austerity measures, by the extraordinary reductions of salaries, and we're talking about the middle class. We're not talking about the very, very well-off 1% of the population. So they have voted with their feet, if you wish, and we're trying to, once again, through this new campaign that we're going through that has just started tomorrow morning, Monday morning.
For the next elections, yeah.
For the next election. That's why the campaign is much more trying to generate awareness of what does it really mean to be, not in the euro and get and adopt the drachma.
Let me bring both my guests in, listening to you with interest, perhaps a comment from them or a question to you. Edith Hall.
Don't the Greeks get worried that, in fact, what's happening is that the whole decision has been taken out of their hands, and it's really a matter of what happens between a few international superpowers over Greece, yet again, like so many times in the 20th century?
Is this a question for me?
Yeah.
Well, that's precisely what has brought up this type of outcome in the election. Everybody is fed up. People feel that all of these decisions have been personified. They personify them with Mrs. Merkel. I don't think it's really Mrs. Merkel herself, but because Germany is the strongest economy in the Eurozone, there is a reaction. Part of it is also becoming worse because of the type of criticism, the type of international press, ugly pictures that they have started about 2.5 years ago, and they've had enough of patience. I mean, I can understand part of the reaction of people's reaction here in Greece, but I'm afraid that we reach a very small amount of degrees of freedom of how much we can manipulate it anymore.
Doug Saunders.
I always wonder that there's a whole generation of Greeks who are very successful in business and so on, but they're successful in London and in New York and in everywhere else, and increasingly so. I mean, it seems that everything that happens to Greece forces people or causes people to pull their money out and to do their business elsewhere. And I get a sense that a lot of people would like to come back to Greece and contribute to Greece and rebuild the economy. What would it take? Is a drachmaization going to be necessary, or would that hurt things further because everyone has mortgages in euros and so on?
That's a very good question, actually. The seriously, it's not an issue of drachma or euro, because the country has had the drachma for over so many decades, centuries, and only been in the euro for the last 10 years. The problem in Greece is very much the environment that we're doing business with. It's not at all friendly. It's very unpredictable, overly regulated, no controls. No one really can do one business transaction that will match a similar business transaction that somebody else will do. And that generates a huge amount of what we call deadweight loss. In other words, a lot of money that leaks but doesn't really go to nobody's pocket, neither to the government and no one, to intermediaries maybe, but no real benefit, no growth. And that's why a lot of us choose not to do business in Greece, choose to come to Greece on vacation, but not to do business here, and prefer to do business elsewhere. And you're right, it's actually a piece of news if you find a Greek abroad not doing well.
Yeah. Good to have you on the program, Elena. Thank you very much for coming on. Elena Panaritis, development economist, and until recently an MP for the PASOK party